What is one thing about your country that foreigners believe, but it's actually false? Austria here. We don't have kangaroos, that's F-King Australia. I watched Eurovision a few years back when we were allowed to compete for the first time, and a reporter was going around asking everyone what they thought about Australia being allowed to compete. A lot of people were confused and said they thought Austria was already allowed to compete. Capital P. Denmark is part of Scandinavia, so many people assume it's mountainous. Really, Denmark is totally flat. Most of the country is agricultural. Totally flat. Second time I got married. I got married in Denmark. Horsens. To be exact. People don't know. But Denmark is like the Las Vegas of Europe for getting married. You drive up. Stay overnight in a hotel. Get married the next day. Can confirm. It looked pretty flat. That Norwegian prisoners have it so nice that you'd think it was a vacation. Friend of mine works in the prison system. And prisoners are still suicidal. Smear tea in their cell, etc. This is actually surprising to me. I remember watching a Norwegian black metal documentary a few years ago where they interviewed Varg Vikernes in prison, and all I could think was that it looked nicer than my freshman dorm room. We all have the same accent as our monarch. To me, all Britons are either Scottish, Walesish, Queen's English or Cockney. That we're all super nice polite. Actually, we're just real passive aggressive. Which can look like politeness if you're American. And you just tell people outright when you don't like them. Lots of rude people in Toronto. In my experience. I'm assuming when people think polite they're thinking of Newfoundland. We don't greet always with namaste. Our food is not always spicy. And curry. I literally have anything but curry on a daily basis. We all eat a massive breakfast and stop everything for tea and cakes in the afternoon. This reminds me of a Pinky and the Brain episode where they were going to use tea time as a window of opportunity to take over the world. Not everyone in America is living carelessly during the pandemic. My father once told me, "No one ever notices a clean window." Double quote. Got some supermarket where everyone goes about their business, respecting each other's distance, and wears a mask. No one cares. Have some idiot refuse to wear a mask while making some stupid speech about his freedom or something, throwing shit around. That gets filmed and spreads around the internet. That weed is legal here. It is not actually legal. But we are allowed to buy it, up until 5 gram. Also, no one wears clogs and almost all windmills are abandoned or tourist attractions. Legal prostitution is also getting less common. People actually seem to believe we live in igloos. Ride moose and drink maple syrup. Edit. Plural of moose is moose. To be fair, we are aware that you actually dilute the syrup in your Tim Hortons coffee. That we're all alcoholics. We're really not. And those of us that are treated as such. Of course, people in Ireland aren't alcoholics. Alcoholics go to meetings to try and stay sober. Lol. Just a joke. I love Ireland. That we're all dumb, uneducated, and selfish. Those kinds of people exist everywhere. We're not all like that. Holy crap, I'm so glad somebody said it. This has been driving me mad. Not all of us are that bad. A lot of people here are actually super nice. Assholes exist everywhere in the world. Not just in America. You just choose to look at the assholes in the US. Who? Glad I got that off my chest. That we are Arabs in the Middle East. Having a language which uses the Arabic script does not help. Imagine if people thought Russia is in the Balkans. Yeah. That's how people who think all of the Middle East is Arabic sound. That Germans can't tell jokes. We have hundreds of jokes. They just aren't funny. Open bracket. I just learned one that's a pun that works in English and German. Why don't ants go to church? Because they're insects. Insects. But I can't remember the German for it. Equals. The country I was born in. That they all wear dirndls and lederhosen. It's like thinking everyone in the US wears cowboy hats, boots all the time. At least they get the country right. I'm Dutch and they think we also all wear dirndls and lederhosen. Just in clogs or ice skates depending on the season. Which is just... no. All of it. Seriously. I've had people ask me if I ride a mule to work. If I've ever flown in a plane. If my hometown has paved streets or electricity. And not as an insult. But as genuine questions. A fellow Mexican. I once had an US customs officer assuming I was from a rich family. Only because I speak English fluently. I'm middle class. Actually. That we live in constant fear of getting nuked by our northern half. North Korea couldn't launch a nuke 2 miles. Let alone from Pyongyang to Seoul. Just in case though. Move Seoul to Jeju Island. You can't spend a weekend in New York with side trips to Miami, Yellowstone, and Hollywood. We used to operate a bed and breakfast in the middle of Canada. Folks from Europe would ask how far it was from Vancouver, Toronto, etc. Expecting it would take a few hours to get to Toronto from Thunder Bay, because they were in the same province. We had a good time explaining to prospective guests that the distances were much greater than they thought. Toronto is a couple days drive. Not a couple hours. There is no public transit between them. That we all love the monarchy and everything is posh. Spoiler, we don't, and there are less posh things than you would expect, but we all love tea though. To be honest, I don't think many people think that you are posh out there anymore. Not after all the Brexit drama. The monarchy thing I would probably have believed though. All you know about the Spanish culture is actually almost exclusive from the south of the country. The rest has a completely different type of music, food, dances and even languages. It's also the only part of Spain that doesn't have a problem with being called Spain. That Luxembourg City is the only thing in Luxembourg. Only 120. 000 out of 620. 000 people live there. Most of us live in villages. With farmland and forest and hillside and rivers. And we have our own tongue, Luxembourgish. Our own traditions. Culture, etc. Most people just imagine a small town that is just German and French. I'm ashamed to admit that I've graduated college, traveled the world, fought in a war, and started a family all without ever knowing that Luxembourg is a country as well as a city. We don't have kangaroos as pets. But they taste nice. Why does no one realize you eat them? That's horrifying to find out. We are not all super friendly and super loud. And no. We do not eat pizza every day. We do eat pasta every day. Though, and honestly, I have never seen a mandilano. That our food is spicy. Costa Rican food is pretty bland compared to Mexico. Which seems to be everyone's standard for Latin American food. My twin brother did a bike tour around Costa Rica. He was absolutely gobsmacked by the sweets there. Fruit salad with ice cream? YAASS. He actually came back heavier than when he left. Since not finishing your food is considered rude there. And because people would give him seconds after hearing that he was biking around the country. USA. You can just walk into Walmart and buy food, clothing, a TV and multiple guns ammo like it's no big deal. There is paperwork first. I don't understand why people think this. My family is a big shooting sports family and own a small arsenal of guns. None of us have ever purchased one without a background check. It is very illegal to purchase a firearm without a background check. Especially at gun shows. People who claim we sell guns like any other item in a store are either misinformed or lying. We aren't lazy. We work more on average per person than most other first world countries. We have a lot of other problems though. That we are all gun-toting, blonde-haired, football-loving, egotistical, big-house-living, Bible-tarming people. People from outside the United States think our country is just New York, California, and Texas. Most of the country is nothing like that. And when people think New York, they think of the huge city. Even when they put it on TV and a lot of stereotypes exist. We are, at least majority of us, Not. Thieves, racist, crazy Catholic and tilted grumpy. The saying "we're not here to FCK spiders" isn't an actual saying. It's something we read. One person on the internet that Reddit has now adopted for some reason, made up to tell tourists and gullible people. Honestly, if an Australian tells you anything about Australia, I'd take it with a grain of salt, because some people love taking the piss out of gullible people who will believe anything said to them in an Aussie accent. That every single American is a stupid, fat, and gun-loving racist. I'm honestly tired of people saying all Americans are bad based on the actions of a few. It's like calling all Germans horrible and anti-Semitic just because of ethnicity. It's like calling all British people racist and tyrannical because of what they did to so many countries in the world throughout history. Please stop. Most of us are just like you. That we all have guns. Only a third of the people in this country personally own a gun. And of that third, 20% own somewhere around 80% of the firearms. That may seem like a lot, but it's far from extreme gun worship. I'm French, and most of the French think guns are forbidden in France and that the USA is a dangerous place because of the high rate of gun possession and low gun control. In fact, we have in France 20 million guns, legal and illegal, for 65 million inhabitants. More than 1 million French are hunters. And it's quite easy to have a gun. Much easier than in many US states. We even can own noise reductors. The only thing that is strictly prohibited is to own full auto guns. Obligatory, not a country but a state in the USA. West Virginia. We aren't all rednecks, but we are all hillbillies. Yes, there's a difference. A real hillbilly is someone who lives for the hills. Who really does care the land and those around him her. We aren't lazy. Not many of us may have college degrees, but we work hard. Most of us work daylight to dark and pay our own way. We are some of the nicest people you'd ever meet. No matter what your race, religion, gender, act. If you treat us with respect, we will treat you with respect, and you'll get a chance to experience true Appalachian hospitality. Moonshine runs though these hollers. But the good ole boys that run it won't hurt ya. Stop for a moment and try our pepperoni rolls. You'll be glad you did. This is one of the few places left in the world where if you break down on the side of the road, someone will stop and help you get your car back on the road. We have suffered greatly from the drug epidemic, but the mountain spirit is still strong and we will come out of it mountaineer strong. Yeah, you'll see rebel flags here. But real West Virginians think those people are dumbasses. Beautiful mountains. Beautiful people. Real Appalachia. I love my West Virginia home. And I hope you'll change your idea of who we are. That we all eat at McDonald's, Burger King, or KFC regularly, or that's what Americans consider a restaurant. Those are all fast food. A place we go when we're being lazy, slumming it, or are in a rush. They are considered low quality working class food. Or that our beer sucks. The X-Light Pilsners you've had is the cheap stuff drank by people who aren't that into beer, are buying for a mixed group, or want to get drunk on without spending a lot of money. The US also has a huge craft scene with a large variety of different styles out there. That we're all racist. In spite of the stories that make the news, most Americans are very welcoming and open-minded. Yes, racists exist. And racists exist everywhere in the world. We also have a very mixed populace. So there's a good chance of a racist having an opportunity to say or do something racist. Still, those do not represent the majority of people in this country. That Paris is a lovely place to go to on a vacation. Oh boy, how wrong are they? The place is disgusting as hell. Whether it be the smell, the roads, or anything else. Everything is unclean. Every time I have to go, I do whatever I'm here to do and go back ASAP. It's also polluted as hell. I have no idea how people live here. There's also a statistically improbable amount of owls roaming around. Usually on the road. Don't go there. Your purse and lungs will thank you. That all of yous have pale skin, blonde hair and blue eyes. I'm black. So I get pretty offended by those beliefs. When my godmother was moving to the US, my dad's school announced that a Dutch girl was going to join their school. Everyone was excited to meet the new blonde blue-eyed girl. No one had told them about Dutch Indonesia. That we all are extraordinarily wealthy and living in Hollywood mansions. I think people are finally starting to see that America actually has a lot of problems. This one isn't as common in other Western countries. But I've encountered it a lot in SE Asia especially. I mean, from American entertainment alone I never got the impression all Americans lived in mansions. The average Midwestern suburb is a much more iconic image. Leprechauns aren't a big part of our culture. Fairies on the other hand. We have a much richer culture than pints and diddly music too. That our forests are full of lost heavy metal musicians filming music videos and that metal is mainstream here. We do have great metal bands though. That's definitely true. Nobody listens to accordion or wear a beret. And the average people knows nothing about good cooking. Eat a lot of industrial shits. And rarely cook self-made meals. Geez. I'm Australian. 1. Not everyone likes Vegemite. I personally do, but it's a taste you have to get used to and you have to put the correct ratio. 2. We don't ride kangaroos to school. It's not possible. 3. Not everyone can surf. 4. The animals aren't that deadly. You get used to them. 5. It's a prawn not a shrimp on the barbie. And so much more, but I'm not bothered to list them anymore. The people of New Zealand have sexual intercourse with their sheep before shipping it overseas. Edit. Maybe to Australia. But you'll never find out. Close bracket.